Hello everybody, I'm Kayla. This is my friend Jan.
What's up, it's Jan.
Jan and I have a lot of similar taste when it comes to the books we pick up, but when it comes to rating those books, we differ greatly.
Fuck this fucking fuck.
It got strange and I appreciated that a lot.
This was like kind of just dry.
And I loved this so much.
It was not what I was expecting and it wasn't in a good way.
I'm giving it 5 stars.
It was just so redundant.
It's 5 stars.
I was just kind of bored.
I loved it.
I gave it 2 stars.
I'm considering this being one of my favorite books of the year.
I gave this 5 stars.
I don't like Rachel Harrison's writing.
I had a really fun time reading this.
I didn't like it.
It was just so good and it was so dark and I love it so much.
At no point was I having a good time. So Jan recently commented on a video of mine saying that it would be funny for her to read some of my least favorite books because that may be where she finds her favorites. And I thought, what a perfect collaboration video. So we each sent each other a list of our least favorite books and I'm gonna react live with you to what she has sent me. And I thought it would be good for us to also share like ones that we think the other person could really enjoy and ones that are actually objectively bad, because it's one thing to send somebody a list of books you rated 1 and 2 stars that they actually have the potential to enjoy because you just have different tastes at the end of the day, and sending someone a list of things that are like actually bad, like poorly written, offensive, what have you. So I wanted us to distinguish the ones that we didn't like to the ones that were actually bad. And I think because I'm me, I'm gonna go ahead and choose one of the ones that are actually bad that she sends me. And then I'll pick 3 or 4 books from the list that her and I both see potential in me enjoying. So I have her list ready. There's 50. She sent me 50 of her least favorites. Okay, we've got A Deadly Education, Fourth Wing, Crossroads, Brother, Wayward, Dark Harvest, A Cosmology of Monsters. He started it. Some of these I've read, actually. I have already read Crossroads and I gave it 4 stars. I also gave He Started It 4 stars. We've got The Handyman Method, 9 Lives, Piercing, The Near Witch, The Night Circus, which I gave 4 stars, The Naturals, The Last Final Girl, which I gave like 4.5 stars, Suffer the Children, Cabin at the End of the World, which I totally understand and respect. 5 stars for me though. Tender as the Flesh, 5 stars for me. My Sister the Serial Killer, 5 stars for me. 9 Perfect Strangers, An Elderly Lady's Up to No Good, If Only I Could Tell You, Invisible Girl, Night of the Mannequins, which I loved, A Lesson in Vengeance, which I gave a 3, A Twisted Love Story, which I gave a 2, Nothing But Blackened Teeth, which I gave a 2, Velvet Was the Night, Comfort Me with Apples, which was a 5, Falling, One Dark Window, Woman Eating, which was a 5, The Whispering Dark, Small Angels, Even Though I Knew the End, which was a 3 for me, Carrie Soto is back, The House in the Pines, My Murder, which I gave a 3, What Lies in the Woods, You Shouldn't Have Come Here, Daphne, which I gave a 5, Belladonna, The Undead Truth of Us, The Inheritance Games, which I gave a 3, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, which I gave a 4, Dead 11, which I gave a 3.75, Gallant, Book of Night, Book Lovers, which got a 3, and A History of Wild Places, which got a 1. Okay, so clearly in some places we do align. But yeah, a lot of my favorite books are on her list. I already know some ones that are calling to me, but she said books you might like: Crossroads, which she's correct, Brother, Wayward, Suffer the Children, My Murder, Velvet Was the Night, House in the Pines. Okay, The House in the Pines I do own. It's in my TBR closet. Suffer the Children, if it's about evil children, I definitely don't want to read. People have recommended me Brother a lot over the years. I have no idea what it is. Velvet Was the Night does not appeal to me because I don't like books about fame, but that author does appeal to me. And then as far as her books that are actually shitty, I can choose 9 Lives, which I'm not going to read. I actually already spoiled myself by watching an entire live show about it. A Deadly Education, which I don't really know anything about. He Started It. Wait, books that are actually shitty? One that I gave 4 stars? Okay. Fourth Wing and The Handyman Method. Oh, okay, I won't be reading Fourth Wing. I don't think any video concept could convince me to do that to myself. So I'm choosing A Deadly Education or The Handyman Method. Then I think just like first impressions, I feel like What Lies in the Woods has gotten mixed ratings. I would rather read a book that I see everywhere a 5-star or 1 star from everyone than a book that everyone gives 3 stars. So I'm excited that that one is divisive because I could love it. The House in the Pines, like I said, on my TBR. So that's 2 thriller books. Now I think we need to pick a couple horror or fantasy. There's a good amount of fantasy on here. One Dark Window, I feel like I saw on a couple people's favorites list of last year. And then I don't know, part of me feels like Book of Night would be a good idea. because again, it's a really divisive one, but I don't know what it is. Is it fairies? I should probably pick Brother because she said I should read it. Other people have told me to read it. And then for the shitty one, I'll pick the handyman method. I don't want any negativity towards this dislike list because the whole point of this idea is to encourage people to pick up things that other people don't like, because reading is so subjective. And I'm almost never saying I gave this book 1 star and nobody should ever read it. Like, we should be open to recommending things we don't like. If you want to give somebody negativity, you can always talk shit about my 1 and 2 star list, but you'll have to go over and give Jan a view to see what I gave to her. And you can see all of the books that we wildly disagree about, you and I. So I'm gonna gather up some books. Let me know which ones you think I should have picked from here, and I'll see you in a little bit. Check out the library coming through with so many of the things that I wanted to try out. I have 8 contenders and we need to knock it down to 5. So I'm gonna do that by reading the first chapter of each. First up, the only one already on my physical TBR, The House in the Pines. That was 18 pages, the first chapter. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 for initial intrigue. I want to know, there was a little ominous line at the end of the first chapter that makes you want to keep reading, and I do want to keep reading. So we're following this woman named Maya. She is with her boyfriend, but hasn't let him in on the fact that she is abusing prescription medication, and she just lost her ability to access it. So she needs to like be open with him about the withdrawal that she's going through. But she feels very inadequate to him and his family and wants to appear perfect and like she has everything together. She's spending her days kind of lounging around. She's watching this YouTube video where she sees a man from her past at a diner and a girl drops dead in front of him. And it's like for security footage. And she's like, this isn't the first time I saw Frank with a girl dropping dead in front of him. And I think we're gonna flash back to like, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago when one of her friends died and this man is somehow related in his like cabin in the woods. I'm interested enough to continue. We'll see how the other ones rank. I have one other mystery thriller, so I think maybe I should choose between the two. The other one is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. I only have the audiobook for this. The library hold like should come in maybe within the next week. Just kidding. I refuse to choose between the two because I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10 and now I want to read both and like compare them. We learn about this girl, our main character, who almost died in the woods years ago by a serial killer, and she nowadays has scars all over her body because she was stabbed an insane amount of times. She helped put the perpetrator in jail, and now 20 years later he just died in prison, and her other friends who were involved who escaped this man are calling her back to like their hometown, and one of them has like an ominous message for the others, and I was very intrigued. So I think we have 2 out of the 5 so far, but we'll see when I read the first chapter of Brother. 13 pages of torture later, and I have to be real with my rating. The first chapter gets like a 2 out of 10 for intrigue. I'm sure that this book is good. I'm sure that it gives everybody the feelings that they're looking for. I've heard that it has great twists. It's character driven. And then it also has a whole bunch of uncomfortable, disturbing things that you might want from horror. Incest and cannibalism and abuse and animal cruelty. I'm trying to think of all the things that I've heard referenced regarding this book. More than anything, I've heard it's just a really depressing read. I don't think that this interests me. The idea that this family is like kidnapping and killing a whole bunch of people, but I do have room for a horror book. So let's read the first chapter of its competitor and we'll see what happens. That was 13 pages. There's no doubt that if I knew as much about this one as this one and like the themes, I would have more to judge it on, and maybe I would feel just as apprehensive getting into it. But right now I'm gonna give it like a 6 out of 10. I love stories where characters are moving into a house and that first moment where they're just getting to know it and they realize, I don't know, that it's haunted or there's somebody creepy next door or what have you. I have no idea what the plot of this one is, but it feels the most in line with what I was planning on doing with this video. Yes, I feel a little bit weird like picking something that Jan told me not to read versus something she told me that I could potentially like, but I'm justifying it by this could potentially end up in some other video concept down the line, right? People love it. This, when else am I gonna find the opportunity to read a book that everybody hates? And even if I don't love it, I'm sure there are opportunities for me to roast it with you. So I'm gonna go with the handyman method. I'm interested to see if the shitty main character and all of his misogyny is gonna continue throughout the book, because I'm sure that's something that has turned people off, but he's moving into this house and like he's already just grumpy and angry about his wife and his kid, and he was like, I'm probably gonna have a vasectomy without telling her, when they're just kicking off this new life together. So I'm intrigued, okay? I love an unlikable main character. Next, I'm gonna go with Velvet Was the Night? 13 pages again. I don't know what to rate this because I almost DNF'd in the first chapter. And I think that this officially makes my ratio for Silvia Moreno Garcia, that I have DNF'd more of her books than I have completed. The ones that I've read to completion, I've liked. But I think I could just get a feeling for the first chapter if it's gonna work for me or not. And this one is another one that has bitten the dust. I don't know, we're following this goon named Elvis, and we're in 1970s Mexico, and it was just a bunch of shooting and hurting people. He is being sent on this mission, and then he like hurt a guy, and then he threw him in his car, and now they're like on the run. I don't know, and I don't care. I didn't like it. What's next? A Deadly Education? 23 pages. Admittedly, I started skimming halfway through. I'm not going to rate this one either. I didn't realize it was YA. I don't really love the writing. It's a little too wordy. I'm sure appropriate for the book, but just for me and like what I feel like reading right now, this didn't fit the bill. This is no shade to this book. I know literally nothing about it, except it's like a magical school. So if you're mad at me for technically DNFing this one, keep in mind I also don't like Harry Potter. So if you want to come at me for poor taste, like go for it. 10 pages into Book of Night. I thought maybe I kicked this off with the best of the best and that the rest were just gonna flop and the video was gonna be a fail before it started. This I'm gonna give like a 9 out of 10. It opened up with an excerpt from my favorite poem, My Shadow by Robert Louis Stevenson. And the book is apparently about these magicians who can manipulate and steal people's shadows. And we have a main character named Charlie. Her boyfriend doesn't have a shadow. And she has worked for these magicians to, I don't know, like steal things from people. She's been used for bad things. I don't know why. I don't really understand like what her ability is or whatever, if she has one. I think this is like urban fantasy. All I know about Holly Black is people really like her YA stuff, and this is her adult debut, I think, and then everybody hated it. I saw it on a lot of people's least favorites, so this is definitely not just a Jan opinion. Now she has a job at a bar trying to escape her past, but she's getting dragged back into it for reasons I don't really understand yet. I'm intrigued. I definitely can't wait to read this. Okay, last one. Oh, it was another one I don't have. I think it's called One Dark Window. I have no idea how many pages that first chapter was because I listened to the audiobook. I couldn't find a sample of it anywhere or it free, so I had to buy it. So it's a good thing I liked it. The first chapter, we're following this girl named Elspeth, and she got a fever as a child, which is known to like give you magical abilities, but like in a bad way. Her father is like responsible for, I don't know, hunting down and removing people who have these abilities, so he can never know that she indeed has them, but she's keeping them secret. She has this nightmare following her, which I think is the name of this like entity who's responsible for infecting people, and he's like in her mind and can like see through her eyes and like communicates with her. Are they gonna fall in love? Is that the plot? I think this is romantasy. I don't know what I'm getting into with this, but I am committing to it. So I have the 5 things that have intrigued me the most. I guess my rating for this final one was like probably an 8. I liked the writing, which I can't say for very many romantasy books. It feels fairy tale, gothic, but adult. I wonder how far it's gonna go into romantasy territory. Like, is it a real romance? Is it gonna get steamy? I can't wait to find out. Just kidding, I can wait. I'm gonna order, well no, I already have the audiobook. And I already have the audiobook of What Lies in the Woods. So now I don't know if I should order either of those physically, but I do want to do What Lies in the Woods first because I don't want to forget what's going on with it. So that is where we're starting.
I just could not connect with the characters. I really didn't care. There was this weird like mythology situation with this serial killer, and I couldn't tell you. I just did not enjoy it. I just wanted to finish it because it was a book troop book club pick.
So I too last year was going to read What Lies in the Woods when Gabby picked it for her book club. I didn't have time to read it before the live show, so I remember tuning into the first couple minutes just to get a vibe for if I should read it or not. And 2 of the hosts, I remember I think hating it, and then Gabby loved it. So I still felt conflicted if I should pick up this one. And then I guess I just never did. I did actually put a hold on it at the library multiple times and then let it expire or returned it right away and just like couldn't fit it into my TBR. I have a little bit of experience with this author, read from her, I think, twice before, and then I almost picked her latest release as a Literally Dead book club pick for this year. So while I was considering it, I vetted a couple people who had read it early and they said it probably wouldn't be the best. So I'm excited to be reading this as my first adult book from this author. Libby says I'm 20% of the way in. I like the audiobook. I don't know if Jan saying she doesn't like the audiobook means like the narrator specifically. I think this narrator, Carissa Backer, has done quite a few thrillers. I don't think I've read or listened to any of them. I like the audiobook just fine. I don't think it's doing anything like particularly impressive or bad. It's just a normal audiobook experience. When it comes to this genre, collectively, the thing that most of us are going to say when we rate it lowly is it was predictable. None of us want to pick up a mystery thriller and know how it's going to end. At this point, my main predictions for where the book is going to go doesn't really have to do with the murder itself, because basically people are questioning if this man actually is the one who stabbed our main character or if he went to jail still like reasonably because it was proven that he killed other people, but if she should have been the one to send him there and she doesn't have any memories. Something that I personally don't always love in a mystery thriller is when all of the memories come flooding back at the most convenient time. I just think it's a little too easy, so I'm wondering if that's the direction that we're going to go, because right now she's telling us she knows nothing about the event. But due to various circumstances that are reasonable, when she was 11, she is the one who sent him away. People want to interview her, people want to challenge her, and that's what she's going through in the story. My predictions are mainly about other characters and things that I think are about to happen in the plot, and I can't wait to see if I'm right about those. I actually think I might do an extended version of this vlog for members just so I can give spoiler thoughts on the thrillers, because at this point a lot of people have read them, but I'll be sure to tell you if all of my predictions are correct. I do also have a prediction about who actually injured this girl and who's responsible for like this side crime that might be related that we don't know. So I have 3 main theories, and I will let you know if I can check off any of these by the end. And I'm in agreement if I can predict everything, like it's not gonna get high ratings. But if I'm entertained, all bets are off. Time for an update. I'm 60% through the audiobook. Liam is currently at the orthodontist, and I'm gonna keep listening. What can I tell you so far? One of my predictions has indeed come true. The other one is being slightly hinted at. Third one nowhere to be seen, but there's still time. There is indeed like a romance in this, or like not a romance. There's a relationship happening. It's with somebody I wasn't expecting, and I don't know if I like it because like every man in a mystery book is automatically suspicious, right? I have absolutely no complaints, and I can't wait to find out if this is the kind of book that like gets unhinged or does something annoying or weird that gets everybody so heated about it because so many people don't like it. There's an active mystery to solve in the book currently too that doesn't have to do with what happened in their childhood, which totally makes sense. I don't know why I wasn't expecting there to be something like, well, I kind of was, but well, I can't say anything. There's something that I predicted that is true, but is it? Or did something else actually happen? All right, listen. I am a bit embarrassed, but the plot twist, not the twist, the reveal at 75% in, if you've read it, you know. If you haven't read it and you don't know, it's in the spoiler vlog. I didn't see it coming. I am embarrassed. I was focused on too many other things. I was caught off guard. So I like it. I should have seen it coming. I even talked through all of my theories and that just wasn't there. Who knows why? Anyway, I'm home now. Very excited to finish it. Liam's orthodontist went great. Thanks so much for asking. Also went to the mall. He needed some new shoes and I got him a sweater. Apparently the college and university sweaters are very in right now. So he actually picked out Yale of all of like the 20 to choose from. And I also have a Yale sweater. I feel like we're kindred spirits. What else did we do? Got Booster Juice. Booster Juice is doing this thing where it's like the month of love, and every single day they put out like self-love. It's like celebrate yourself and your name. And every day they put up 2 names This was today's. And those people with those names get a free smoothie. So I've been waiting all month for it to be my name, and it hasn't been, so I'm still stuck paying $8 every day, because I basically traded in my coffee addiction for a smoothie addiction. And just like coffee, I can make it myself at home. I make smoothies like every single day. But there's just something about Booster Juice. So I will be able to update you every day for the rest of this vlog until my name shows up, and I think I can manifest it. I think now that I've said it out loud, that my name is gonna show up. It's gotta happen, right? We've had Ashley, Simran, Ivana, May, Sienna, Catherine. Catherine's the closest. Sarah, Stephanie, Shannon, Taylor, Sadie, Natalie, Amanda, Michelle, Maria, Katrina. Oh, we've had a couple Ks already. Danielle, Jasmine, Tara, Emily. And then the guys' names, Amon, Carl, Omar, Travis, Raul, Andrew, Manpreet, Jose, Brad, Jeff, Sandeep, Dan. I think there's hope. Either me or Rob could get it. All right, at the end of the day, the two things that I'm looking for, we get to check them off. I was entertained. I was surprised. I was correct, but only halfway about 2 out of the 3 predictions that I had. There are definitely things that I should have seen coming that I didn't. There were a lot of red herrings introduced that even if you can figure out a couple things that are coming, there are so many moving parts. And the thing about this genre for me is so many are forgettable. The characters aren't distinct, the setting isn't really vivid. I don't feel that way about this one. I feel like I will remember these characters for a long time, what they were up to. Our main person, Naomi, is definitely self-destructive. She doesn't make the best decisions. She's not always protecting herself. There are a lot of moments where it's like, why did you do this instead of this? So if you hate a frustrating main character, would not recommend. I really like these mysteries that are set in the woods. I really like mysteries that have a group of friends coming back together. And I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I can't give it a full 5 because there were some villainous monologues that went on a little too long, red herrings that didn't come full circle, and just so many concepts and characters that were introduced that made it so it had the ability to surprise me, but I just feel like I wasn't fully satisfied by all of the side plot lines that we had. It is loosely inspired by a real life criminal case in the States, I think. But talking about that would really spoil like the actual reveal of the book. So I'm glad that I went into it not knowing anything about that. I definitely understand people who this isn't their favorite, but I had a good time with it. I really like Kate Alice Marshall's writing, and I think I would consider her for a Literally Dead Book Club pick in the future. There's definitely a lot of things to talk about in her books, and while some things like just didn't make the most sense, character motivations, like were they reasonable? Those are things I often don't care about anyway. So 4 stars, had a great time. I'm moving on to my next book.
Maybe I'm just not an urban fantasy type of gal. Some parts were redundant. I think it was the world building for me that was a tad confusing.
I am a quarter of the way into Book of Night by Holly Black, and I can't get into why, but there are 2 very specific things that this has in common with the book that I just read, and it's kind of weird. I find this concept of shadows really interesting. I don't often love following a character who is manipulating people, who has been placed in a role where they have to con individuals. I've said that before. For some reason, like in a more magical, fantastical book, I'm more on board than like a mystery or a general fiction. We have Charlie, who has been used by various people in her life related to this like magical shadow stuff that I don't even fully understand at this point. But we are getting flashbacks to how that all started, so I'm enjoying that. And actively, there is this mystery to solve regarding shadows and like her own shadow. She's trying to get answers to something. She doesn't fully understand like this whole magical world, neither do I. And I'm kind of wishing that she had met and gotten involved with Vince in the pages, because I really like them and I like his character, but I would have liked to see the beginning of their relationship. Starting a book with an established connection isn't always my favorite either. With that said, the book is pretty short, coming in at 300 pages. So maybe there isn't time to do that, and she probably didn't want to make this a whole series. I'm just getting the feeling at this point I'm not going to be fully satisfied by everything by the end, but I'm having a nice time. I like the writing, I like the characters, I like the journey that we're on. I like everything. I don't love any aspect yet. I'm halfway through my book. It's 3:30. Liam's about to be home. I'm making us smoothies because my booster juice, my name was not the booster juice name of the day, which honestly is pretty disrespectful. So I'm just gonna make my own, I guess. Yeah, I'm halfway through the book and I don't have an update. Hello? But I feel like because I'm halfway through, I should give you an update. So my update is the main character is trying to track down this book of night and she doesn't really know what it is, but there's other people trying to track down the book of night and not everyone is what they seem. And I don't know, I feel like I'm liking the book, but it's also a kind of passive experience and I don't know how to describe that in a way that makes sense, but I just don't feel like fully invited into the story. I'm just reading the words and I'm just there, I'm along for the ride, and it's like a good time. I'm learning a lot about this world. I don't know, Holly Black's writing is not doing a lot for me, but it's also not bad in any way. It's descriptive, it's interesting enough. That's all I've got for you. Book of Night is done. This was such a strange reading experience because this is not what I would expect from a seasoned author. And I know that's like so insulting, but even after finishing it, I still don't understand like what was moving the plot along. She has this task, but like, why did it matter? I still don't understand the stakes. I still don't think I have a full grasp of what a blight can do with their shadow, how they become a different like entity and like why any of it matters. Besides Charlie's job being working in a bar, this is a teen book in like every sense. I had no actual issue with the writing. Like there's no flaws with the language, the wording, the sentence structure, the descriptions, the dialogue, like everything in that regard was fine. It just kind of felt like I was reading the third book in a series, as if there's already this magic system I'm supposed to understand. I'm already supposed to know all of these side characters because they got introduced in a way every time that felt like I was already supposed to know who they were because I got nothing about any of them. And of course there's this relationship that I feel like I'm supposed to be rooting for, but I didn't see it happen. Because of that, what I'll say is the book does a good job of making a believable life, a believable world that Charlie just exists in. Unfortunately, I was not welcomed into that world, but it feels like, yeah, Charlie is well established. She knows all these people, she has this job, she has this relationship, she has this sister, and it feels real. And it was just such wasted potential to me because this really could have been an epic romance. I'm telling you, if this was the third book in a series, I would have just fallen in love with this relationship. And at this point, the conflict between them, like I would have been eating it up. It seems as though, to me, Holly Black had this idea of shadow magic and also this reveal that she wanted to pull off, and then she just like smashed her keyboard, built this makeshift plot to make the reveal like work, and a plot that's not all that compelling and doesn't really make a ton of sense. I've seen some people complain about the pace. I feel like that's not something that bothered me at all. There were slow moments, there was a lot of action. I was always interested. It was just like grasping for something. It was so unsatisfying the entire time. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna give it like a 2.5, which is what I think Jan originally gave it closer to a 3, but she was saying that this is something that's stuck in her mind over time as a real disappointment, not a real hate read. And so I'm gonna land like in the, you know, mid 2s. And so what I was thinking is, since this was her highest rated of all of my selections, I should read the lowest rated next.
There's just some weird shit going on. I just don't understand, and I don't care to understand. This is going on my worst books of 2023 for fucking sure.
So The Handyman Method by Nick Cutter and Andrew F. Sullivan. I have started. I'm 9 chapters in. It's funny. It's so unserious, and I kind of love it. The horror of this book is the horrors of toxic masculinity. He's basically this like family man. He just did something like great at work and was like a hero and like he's a good guy, but the second he enters this house, he's terrible and like he's just treating everybody terribly. It starts out by him going to fix up something, and he realizes he knows nothing about fixing up houses. He wasn't supposed to because he just bought like a new build, but there's a little flaw in the house. So he goes to YouTube to find like a tutorial of how to fix something. He finds this guy who has like no views, no videos, just this one video teaching him how to fix something. Hank the handyman. And before you know it, this guy is just like obsessed with being the manliest man he can be. And he like goes to the hardware store and someone questions his masculinity. So he's like, I need to buy like the contractor's special pass to like get access to all the tools and wood that I couldn't have. And then suddenly Hank has all of these videos about like how to be a real man and is like teaching, what is our main character's name? Trent is teaching him how to shave and how to like not take any shit from anybody and how to like reinforce the foundation of your house, which Trent doesn't need to do. But I feel like the house is perhaps controlling like this YouTube situation and like communicating with Trent and like trying to become like the best house it can be. He's feeling very emasculated, which is so stupid because his wife, you know, is working. She's a lawyer and has nothing going on currently. So he just has this new obsession and passion. And his wife's like, can you make dinner tonight? And he's like, well, I'm a man. I'm a real man now. Like I should have grease under my fingernails and I should be just out there riding a lawnmower. It's so fucking stupid. And I love it. And I think also it's like controlling maybe like all of the technology because the child is watching like his iPad and he's watching his own show and the show is like telling him to do weird shit too. I'm eating it up. I know you all hate this one, but I'm having a great time. Good morning. I finished the handyman method and I don't know, just like considering I didn't like The Troop. I gave it like 3 stars. And then I read Saturday Night Ghost Club and also gave that 3 stars. I just kind of assumed that Nick Cutter, Craig Davidson wasn't for me. I never expected to pick up something else from him, but I'm glad I did. I gave this one a 4. I feel good about my 4. I also don't think I have that much to say about it. The horror really picked up in the final third. It was like unhinged and wild, very action-packed, which I don't always love if a horror is at the entire time, but because we had a slower beginning that I was really into, it all just kind of worked. I really liked the pace of it. I am notorious for liking an unlikable main character, and I feel like this is going to be the book that I reference now when I talk about the fact that I like unlikable main characters, because in fact it was all of the characters in this book. None of them are redeemable. None of them are good. And I just think the book kind of pulled off exactly what it was going for. It accomplished all of its goals perfectly. I didn't see like the reveal coming of the reasoning behind everything, and I liked it. There's some animal cruelty and body horror that's definitely unsettling in here. It's a kind of haunted house story, and I'm always looking for good versions of that. It's not an all-time favorite horror, but it's definitely one that I liked more than I thought I would, and I'm happy to have read it. I really want a 5-star by the end of this video, so it can really feel like the purpose was fulfilled of finding some new favorites from Jan's least favorites, but I already feel like we're at a good spot if it ends here with a couple 4s. Rob is currently working. He just had like an emergency call. It's the weekend. Liam has a hockey game in a couple hours, so I have a little bit of time just hanging out at home. And I might as well start my next book. Or I guess I have already started it because I read the first chapter of One Dark Window in the tryout portion. But Rob already asked me if I want booster juice on the way home, so that's exciting. We need to take a look if it's my name. I guess I should start the book right now though, because if he's still in town once I get like maybe a third of the way in, then he could bring me the physical book on his way back, because I do like prefer to read physically. The audiobook is fine, but if I'm liking it, I'm gonna want to own it. Like I already think I'm gonna order myself a copy of this one. The booster juice names of the day are Naomi, which was that main character from Into the Woods. What's it called? What Lies in the Woods. And Kareem. Close to my name again, but not close enough. Give me a moment and I will tell you where I'm at with the book.
It was good in the beginning. It started off strong with the gothic atmosphere and the setting and everything, but like the characters, I don't care about any of them except the nightmare. Like that dynamic between the nightmare and Elspeth, love that. That's my favorite part of this book.
I am 27% of the way through One Dark Window. Rob brought me home my booster juice and It's delicious. I didn't get far enough in or didn't feel completely enamored enough to want to own the physical copy yet, so I skipped that opportunity. So I thought our main character was in love, like was falling in love with the like creature that took over her mind, and I thought, what an interesting concept. You're falling in love with someone who's in your brain. That's not what it is. So it is this like monster entity that shouldn't be there, obviously. And there are these Providence cards. That's the kind of magic system. I don't think I fully understand. I think I'm too deep into, or too shallowly still into Book of Night, that I'm like, this book is gonna hold my hand and like, it doesn't matter if I don't learn anything because it's not gonna make any sense anyway or matter. I need to switch my perspective because it's definitely gonna matter and I need to figure it out. But there are these Providence cards and they have something to do with magic, and apparently if you collect all 12 of them, you can do something. Like everybody wants to catch them all, and the kingdom wants to get them all because that will rid the kingdom of all of the magic, because they don't want magic. Anyone who's gotten this fever has magic. They kill all those people, but they can like rid all of the magic. I guess they don't think any person has magic, but there are still these creatures causing this fever. At least they don't know that there's magic that belongs in people still, because our main character is the only one who's like made it into adulthood without having manifested this magic. But she's pretending that she has. And that I think I'm not really grasping. So she gets taken into the kingdom because she had this altercation with the king's nephew. He's a highwayman. His name's Raven. And he's now gonna work with Elspeth to collect all the cards because she pretended like she did have a magic. Wait, but they want to kill people with magical abilities. I'm lost. She pretended she had a magical ability to like see cards, like to find cards. I don't know why she pretended to do that and how it's gonna serve her. Maybe just because she wanted to seem useful so they wouldn't kill her. I've been paying attention too. Like I really haven't, I've just been cleaning the house. I've been fully engaged. Maybe I'm just, yeah, I'm not used to trying to understand things. Let me give it some time or a re-listen and I'll get back to you again. Since I saw you last, I've been reading, but I haven't gotten any further in my book. So I now understand everything better. Basically, the monster like in her head is the thing that can detect the cards. And also there's an entire group of people still that are royalty, but not the king specifically, who are like going against the king, have a different intent than the king with collecting the cards. I feel like by calling it card collecting, it sounds kind of dorky. Like it sounds like this scavenger hunt where every single chapter she's like going after a card. That's not what it is at all. It's just different people hold the cards and you never really know who has one, and you can track where the cards have been, like if they've been sold, if they've passed hands and stuff. Beginning made me a little bit weary. Like I liked the first chapter, but also it was like stepmother, stepsisters, like it felt very fairy tale, and I didn't know if I wanted a real retelling, but that's also not what it is because there's not too much of those characters as Elspeth is living like with Raven at this point in the kingdom because they have to pretend that he's courting her for various reasons. And I love a fake dating trope. But also, since I saw you last, Liam had his last game of the regular season, which they won. And now they're off to playoffs next weekend. So that's exciting. He's just reffing right now. And Rob got a work call. He's on call this weekend and then next week. So it's nice that he didn't get any like overnight calls or during Liam's game, but he is on one right now. And it's kind of far away. So I'm gonna hope that Booster Juice is one of our names today. And that'll cheer him up because, oh my God, it's Megan and Rob. Oh my God. Oh my God. Do you think free smoothies taste better than smoothies you pay for? I bet they do. I just did a little more analysis of Jan and my Goodreads shelves because I was coming to this conclusion and I wanted to make sure I was right, and I am. We align with fantasy. We really do. I just didn't notice that in all of the other things that were going on. It's horror and thrillers that we don't match most of the time. With that said, there are ones that we completely agree on. Don't get me wrong. Like, it absolutely happens. But with fantasy, we line up. There are ones we both really loved, gave 5 stars. There are ones we both liked, gave 4 or 5 stars. And there are ones we didn't like, under like a 3 or around a 3. That's just something really good to note going forward, that I can take fantasy recommendations from Jan. And that might tell you what my rating of One Dark Window is. Under probably under a 3. So if nothing else, this was fun to confirm with Book of Night and One Dark Window. Fantasy, we're pretty much on the same page, and that makes me really interested to see what she picked. I don't know if I've told you that we haven't told each other our TBRs. We're only finding out once these vlogs are posted what the other one read, and so now I hope hers doesn't dispel the conclusion that I just came to. But if I were to predict things, I think in her vlog she has read some horror and thriller that she's loved and some fantasy adjacent books that didn't go well. That's what I think. I can't wait to watch. It took me so long to finish One Dark Window. I was just completely uninspired that final third, even though it was the most action-packed. It took me an entire 24 hours to read that 100 pages. Listen to 100 pages. It took me 24 hours. I was just really tired of being in that world. I didn't care about any of it. I found it really simplistic. I don't think that the love interest inspired any feelings whatsoever. Like, I do not care about their romance, and I don't really get why other people do. This was kind of similar feelings to, not Assistant to the Villain because I gave that 1 star, but the romantasy that I've been picking up. I either really get it or I really don't, and it's just so interesting how we can have such different reading experiences. And I've noticed within myself, it's far easier for me to be able to analyze and understand why somebody hates something that I love than love something that I hate, and it's something I need to work on. I'm trying to find good things to say about this book. I just didn't think the magic system was particularly interesting even once I understood it. I didn't really care about any of the characters. I think the main character was aggravating. While I respect how she was built out because she's not this incredible force that can take on anything and do anything, but she's also not this meek, weak character that has to be saved at every turn, but she was a mix of both of those things, and I didn't enjoy myself reading from her. It wasn't that she was in the middle. Like, she wasn't this character who like just had it together and like sometimes acknowledged her weaknesses but sometimes was strong. It was like she was on both sides of the spectrum, back and forth. She was crying and weeping and desperately calling for help, or she was like badass taking people out because of her ability that she's not even fully in control of. I wanted to like that element. I don't think it's a flaw. I just didn't like reading her being like that. I used to really dislike Kingdom books also. That's something worth noting, is that it's not like I've come full circle on that. I didn't suddenly become a lover of kingdoms and kings and queens and all of the court intrigue. I have come a little bit of the way there, but I used to really avoid books like that. And so I think it was perhaps unfair of me to pick this up thinking that I would love it, knowing that it revolved around the kingdom. All of the inner workings and control and who's in charge and who's betraying who, it just wasn't that interesting to me. I am sad about it, but I'm excited to be moving on to a thriller because, as we've established, that's where I could find a favorite. I don't know though, because I've started it and let's just say it's a little dry.
I didn't feel connected to any of the characters. I didn't care about the storyline. The twist I didn't care about. The ending was dumb.
Oh, I didn't update you on my smoothie yesterday. It did taste better because it was free. Also, Rob put like extra boosters and stuff in it because it was free. He chose mine to be the free one because mine's also the more expensive one. I also didn't tell you guys about this trivia night I went to at like the local bar. I vlogged a moment where I was leaving and then didn't film any more of that night, so I didn't think that clip was relevant at all. But it was really fun. It was a group of girls and there was like 8 rounds of trivia. I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't get to feel as smart as I thought I would going into it. And there was like 8 teams competing. It's a really small kind of brewery. And we didn't win, but we're going back this week. So I'll keep you updated on our success. Let's talk about The House in the Pines though, because oh my god, this has a 3.12 average rating on Goodreads. Like, that's so low. It's so low considering it's a Reese's book club pick. It really makes me wonder what this book's about to do because I'm halfway through already and I just like, what is the plot? I want to do a spoiler section for my members in the extended vlog. I don't think there's gonna be anything to talk about. Oh, but hey, the back says it's a shocking debut thriller. So perhaps there will be like a moment at the end where I can tell you what I think of the reveal. Hopefully though, from this point on, it gets really exciting and really like maybe wacky and I will just fall in love with it. I still have such high hopes for it. Usually Reese's book club picks are about women reclaiming their bodies, their minds, their lives, and taking down whatever has been stopping them. That doesn't seem any different in here. We have 2 different timelines. Maybe people don't like it because there is no chapter headers. It's really easy, like literally in the first line of each chapter to tell what timeline you're in, but that could be something that could be confusing for some people if you're taking a long time to read it. So in one timeline, I told you the first chapter, she's with this woman, what's her name? Oh my God, Maya, is with her husband living in Boston, or boyfriend. And 7 years ago, her friend died, and this guy she thinks is responsible. I want to see what it says about that because I don't want to spoil anything for you. Okay. Frank is the guy, and he has an influence over her. So it does talk about the fact that she was involved with Frank. So 7 years ago, she was dating this guy, and we're reading so much of that timeline, so much of them getting involved with each other, and we see that he is being manipulative. She's young and impressionable, and he's controlling her in a sense. And I don't like that. I don't like reading it. I know it's important to the plot, but I just don't find it interesting. It reminds me of reading The Quiet Tenant recently, which I gave 2 stars, where I just am not like, I want to have a good time when I'm reading a thriller, and just being with somebody for hundreds of pages and seeing how terrible they are, what a terrible guy he is. And then current day, Frank is still like alive and well, living his life. And the other girl in a diner dies in front of him, and she thinks he's responsible, and now she's going on this journey, going back to stay with her mother, and investigating, trying to talk to different people who knew this woman who just died in front of him. I would expect it to be, if like he was objectively the villain, for it to be more clear current day, like him stalking her, him seeing her everywhere, like not just her interpreting him as being a bad guy. Though I'm bored, I really want to know what's going on, but I wish I had more questions. I wish there were more storylines. It's very simple. Hopefully I can vlog myself while I'm reading the part where a reveal happens, and you can see my immediate impression of that. Womp womp, terrible book. I take it back. Jan and I, thrillers and horror was not the answer anyway. Well, it was earlier, but not with this one. She was far too generous, saying that she didn't like it, but other people could. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who could like this, but considering its low average rating, if this is on your TBR and you're waiting for me to tell you if you should read it or not, take it off your TBR. And I never say that. Ignoring the first couple words of this blurb, just read that. Your answers are right there. It's about the subtlety of memory and manipulation. A woman has hazy, haunted memories. That's it. That's the whole book. Her being like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Where's my memory? Why is my memory gone? Was I being manipulated? This guy was manipulating me. Oh my God, Reese, what is up? Even like the ending, because in some ways, yes, this woman, it is still like the typical Reese's Book Club book where she gets control over her own life. But then the ending left it a little bit too open for that real like retribution, which is surprising. I imagine she was like, oh, that's a twist I haven't seen in a book, so let me go ahead and recommend it to people. Ignoring the fact that 300 pages is just boring and dull. It's absolutely not a thriller. There is no thrilling elements. But it's also not a mystery because you know the entire time that this man has manipulated her. What an exhausting book to end it on. And it's the one that I had on my TBR. At the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the video, obviously it was really risky picking somebody's least favorites and just assuming that they would be good. I did have a very good time creating this piece of content and doing an experimental vlog like I always do, but I didn't end up with any new favorites. However, I had 2 I really liked, 3 I didn't, and this is kind of the perfect results for a video like this. Is it confirmed that I can like things other people don't like. We all have different tastes, like how fun that somebody hates a book and you end up enjoying it. And then also it's fun to confirm that some books just aren't good. And we have a camaraderie now with this experience. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this vlog. If you and I happen to have opposite tastes, I would love for you to put in the comments something that we don't agree on, something that you absolutely hated that I loved. And then there's the potential you could leave me a recommendation, and maybe a spin-off could be comment related, where if we do not align, maybe something else that you hate I could potentially love. So I'll look forward to, I'm sure that only applies to a couple people, but I'll look forward to any comments related to that. And with that, thank you so much to Jan for doing this collaboration with me. Again, her link is down below, and I will see you all in the next one.